All right. Hey, Lisa, how are you doing today? We got a whole bunch of folks watching us. Myself and Khai Mcbride are in the MLO network today, teaching you maybe a little bit more than surviving. I know I call it the Survivor Series, but this goes beyond just barely making it. I mean, we want to live lives of abundance, live life of wealth, and we want to take advantage of the time and the energy and the opportunities that are in front of us. And I think it's been on my mind a ton, and I know it's been on Kai's mind. I reached out to one of the best people that I personally coach. I have one coaching student. I don't know if you know that. I have one, just one. It's one secret student.
Everybody starts at one.
Just with one. And we
I
were
know my
talking
first
about
coaching student.
yeah, exactly. And we were just talking about some of the deals that have been lost. And it's like, man, you work so hard with the marketing, with the energy you put out there and the back and forth, and you got a team and you got the CRM and you got all these things that cost you a lot of money to try to just make it as good as you can. And then you lose the deal and you're like deflated. Oh my gosh, like how did I lose this deal? And
yeah. And we're not talking about losing deals because the appraisal fell through or something happened to the loan. We're talking about losing deals because we lost it to competition, right? Absolutely. That's the bottom line.
Yeah, a deal that's closable, a deal that might be easy, a deal that this is the worst is when you think you had good rapport with the client and when you think things are going well. And, let's throw maybe the market dropped 3 points and you just had a bad luck. Let's maybe throw that out the window. I mean, there's ways to deal with that too, but something where you were probably similar priced and you still lost the deal. And that's just not good. So I threw a bunch of bullet points out. I don't know for sure if I was on point, but I know you've been teaching this a lot in your series of Love or Die. And I know a lot of your coaching students have really been going deep on this. What do you think is the number one challenge right now with the LO borrower relationship? When it comes to just talking back and forth about the transaction.
So I talk a lot about the modernization of the loan process, right? And I think when people think about modernization, they immediately think about they immediately think about technology. But that's not necessarily the modernization of the loan process. The modernization of the loan process is also recognizing the current market and current events. So I'll give you an example. I take a lot of metrics and I'll go over the metrics in a bit, something that I want to share with people. But I think one of the complaints that I hear a lot is like, oh, I talked to my borrower, but they're not getting me their documents or they just ghosted me. I mean, I would say that that's probably a common complaint that you hear from loan officers, right? They're not getting documents, they're not getting to them or they're not serious. It's one thing if they're not serious because they're really, really not ready to buy yet. But if they're not sending you documents, I mean, even if they're not serious, here's the reality. Even if somebody's not serious, how do you get somebody to commit and be loyal to you right away? Like, I have to use you as a loan officer, right? And the reality is that, in the last 20 years since I've been in the industry, I think loan officers position themselves as order takers. Like, as soon as we get on the call with the lead, the first thing that we want to do is we want to qualify them and we want to put them into a loan. And I get what you guys are saying, but that's what I'm supposed to do. That's what a loan officer does. And I'm like, right, that's what any loan officer does. And so you haven't really done anything to set yourself apart from other loan officers, right? And so then people say, well, I talk to them, I become friends with them, I do all those things. And that's all great too. And there are some things that are very important. Like, I ask them questions and I build rapport. And I think rapport is also like really, really subjective because it's really hard to measure rapport, like how I build rapport with somebody versus you building rapport with somebody. Why? It's because one guy, we talk about sports, another, woman, we talk about kids, or vice versa. Like what exactly? That's kind of an art. But subjectively speaking, there are things that we can do really to position ourselves better. Okay. So if I were to, when I ask most loan officers, I say, what is like, and I'll let you answer for a typical loan officer. What do you think a loan officer would say if I said, what makes you better than other loan officers? What do you think a typical loan officer would say?
Oh, I have the sharpest rates. I shop 100 investors and I have great service. We close really fast.
Okay. Borrowers don't really care about that. They care about the rates part, but they don't really care about like the closing really, really fast right now. That's what we think that they care about when it comes to loan process. But if you're a borrower in today's market, what do you care about?
What do I care about?
What do you think borrowers in today's market in 2023, what do you think the challenge of buying a home is?
I want to get my offer accepted. And I want to be able to afford the payment.
Correct.
And I don't want any surprises at all.
Right.
Like, I don't want to be like, oh my gosh, all of a sudden you don't qualify, or my cash to close just changed by 3,000 a day before close.
Right.
Like, I don't want that. That would be awful.
Okay. So you're a borrower and you explicitly said probably 3 of the main things that you're looking for, yet a loan officer says nothing to specifically address those things. That makes sense? So when I think about like the modernization of
Guys,
the loan of
this
the process,
this is not scripted. This is totally not scripted. This is me talking from the heart on what I see. And
right.
You know, you're nailing it, Kai.
Right. So when I think about the modernization of the loan process, are you talking as if it's 2023? Or are you talking as if it's some random year? Some random year, you're going to say, well, I got good rates and I got great service, but you're not talking like it's 2023, right? You're not addressing a bar like it's 2023. The things that plague a bar today is affordability, which means that rates come into play. But it also means that like programs come into play when it comes to like down payment, things like that. Because remember, compared to 10, 20 years ago, homes are like 20%, 50%, 100%, 200% more just because of appreciation over the years. They care about, you know, we're in a market right now where we don't have enough inventory. So everybody cares about getting an offer accepted. Okay, so you haven't said anything about a loan officer saying that you're good at those things. So what happens is that you talk to a loan officer and you're concerned about these things, then the loan officer just wants to take your loan app. And so you hang up the phone going, okay, so they can functionally help me get a loan, but they're not really helping me solve those other things. So I'm just gonna kind of put them in the back burner until I'm ready to like close a loan. But if you were a loan officer and your presentation was, these are the 4 things that make me better than other loan officers, and this is in the exact script. But if you basically convey, number 1, I'm going to help you solve the affordability issue. I'm going to look at your finances and I'm going to work on different payments and options to make sure that you can afford the home that you want, right? 2, part of it has to do with rates, and I'm a market expert. I'm going to show you how I watch the MBS market, and I'm going to tell you how I predict rates are going to go because I follow things like the inflation CPI index. Because I'm going to sidetrack for a little bit. As a mortgage, who is the most perennial mortgage influencer that we know that everybody always wants to hear what they say?
The crystal ball winner. I mean, everyone, you know, in Barry we trust. He should be on the at least
Barry Habib, right?
It's always Barry,
right?
Maybe
and
not
the
the
reason
20,
why
but he should be on the $5 bill.
The reason why it's Barry is because Barry is the type of person that you go to like predict something, right? And so there's a lot of value in being the person that predicts something. Okay, so if so many of us go to Barry, what if you were the Barry to consumers? They're always going to want to go to you if they know what are rates doing. Because right now, the way a consumer figures out what are rates doing is they're just going to call 10 different shops, right? But if you presented yourself as like the Barry Habib of loan officers, they're always going to go to you first with what rates are doing, right? And so you have an attractiveness, you have a stickiness. Also, when it comes to affordability, if you're always talking about affordability, different programs, different down payments, different qualifications, they're always going to come to you saying your value is that, you know, Mike's value is that he's going to help me afford a home. He's going to get me my best rates because he understands the market. And then the third one is, if you understand your local market, if you understand how many listings are available, how many offers are going out on a daily basis, how many closings there are, and actually how to win an offer, I'm going to go to you because you're actually going to get me the home. Because here's the reality that people don't understand. When it comes to accepting the offer, does the seller and the listing agent care about the loan officer, or do they care about the agent?
Oh my
bad
God.
Loan officer, good agent. Is the
Dude.
seller going to take a bad loan officer, good agent, or bad agent, good loan officer?
How long? I mean, I could go on about this one forever, but I'm just going to share a personal story from my own pipeline. I mean, I had a borrower who was looking to sell, and he interviewed 4 different listing agents, and he said, I'm going VA. I've got 2 or 3 loan officers on my radar. He gave him a couple names. And when he called me back, he said, like, I talked to the 4 agents. All 4 of them, when I showed him the 2 or 3 people I had looked up, said, go with Mike. All 4 of them said that. Yeah. And I'm like, why'd they say that? I said, oh, because he'll close you smoothly. When you do the buy and sell, he'll tell you if you can sell first and buy or not buy. And I'm going, well, why? Because, and then I asked him what the 4 agents were. I'm like, oh, all 4 of those agents have come to classes I taught. They're all in my CRM. Yep. They're all getting my videos. I'm going to help this guy get an offer accepted in this marketplace because my reputation.
We thought the whole over, you know, 27 bids per property. We thought that ended in 2021, you know what I mean? But it didn't. This is going to be the next 5 to 10 years, because since pandemic, we have supply chain issues. I mean, I have a chart here. And I don't need to pull it up, but in 2007, we had 4 million available homes. In 2023, we have just under 1 million available homes on the market. So we're down 75%. Supply chain issues. And so so you notice, like, if rates are over 6%, buy slows down, but as soon as rates barely drop below 6%, it's a frenzy to the market, and it's 10 to 20 offers. I mean, properties are staying on the market for like less than a week, right? And that's just like the norm. You're either going to have to accept high rates, which means that I have to solve the affordability issue. So high rates and like low competition. So I have to solve affordability issue, or low rates and high competition. So I have to solve the competition issue. But see, we're not marketing ourselves or selling ourselves as that as loan officers. We talk about like, oh, service and all that other stuff. You know who cares about closing on time and not things falling apart? Not borrowers, because they don't really understand that. The listing agents do. Not even the buyer's agents, the listing agents. Now, the buyer's agents care because the buyer's agents want to market you to the listing agents. You know what I mean? So you have to convey that I close on time. But if you say I close on time, it's not because it's an inconvenience. You say, the fact that I close on time and I have proof that I close on time, that's going to be extremely important in you getting your offer accepted. So as a loan officer, if I'm talking to somebody and I can say, look, the average property has 15 offers, which means that the average person is going to win 1 out of 15, which means you're going to have to put in 15 offers before you win. My track record is that I'm helping my borrowers put out no more than 3 offers. So you have a 500% chance more of winning an offer by working with me. Okay. When it comes to affordability, you can go to banks, you can go to credit unions, you can go to this online place, you can go to this. But because I understand loans, because I understand VA, because I understand structure, I can help you solve the affordability issue. And so you're really addressing things that actually matter in today's current market.
I got to throw this out there too, because I've been saying this a lot. And I brand myself in the local market that you're working in very well. I call a lot of these agents. I'm a member of the association.
Yep.
I'm sending emails. I'm participating. I'm going to events. I'm shaking their hands. They know me and they're very comfortable with our team. That puts you in a position to win, especially when you got somebody moving from out of state into your marketplace. They don't do these things.
So the other modernization of the mortgage process I talk about is that, like, the mortgage industry for the last 20 years has been a sales-driven market. Mm-hmm. So we go out and we sell ourselves to real estate agents, and we do everything like one by one. Well, what we don't do well or at all is we don't really market ourselves. And one of the reasons why we don't market ourselves is because marketing typically over the years has been very, very expensive. It was either print or radio or TV. Now, you can market yourself by going to events and everything like that. And even though people do it, I think loan officers do it far less than before. I mean, far less, if anything. But now is the time to market yourself, because the reality is that if you're in a competitive market with like 10 to 20 offers, you need every agent to know who you are, because at some point they're going to be the listing agent. So the focus isn't just to sell to the agents, sell yourself to an agent that you want them to be your buyer's agents that will give you business. You want to sell yourself to every listing agent in the area, not to get business from them, but to know that they're going to be ones that they're going to be the ones that will give you the green light on the offer that you're going to put in. So if everybody knows your name, you did a good job branding yourself in the market to listing agents. And so I ask everybody listening, is that what is your listing agent branding campaign? So if it was me, I would look up every listing on the market right now, pull a list of all the listing agents and start marketing to them. Because the chances are the people that have listings right now, they're probably the ones that like are the 1% that are going to have the next listings. But I want to brand myself in front of all those people, because these people need to know who I am. These people need to be my friends. I got to figure out what events they go to. I got to follow them on Instagram. I got to interact with them on Facebook. I got to do all these things, you know? And so that's how you put yourself in a better position. And it's like, you know, even, I mean, you know, and let's talk about another modernization concept. Okay. So we have 3 generations that are buying right now. We have boomers, we have millennials, we have, well, boomers, Gen X, millennials, and then Gen Z's creeping up. Gen Z is about 25, 26 years old right now. So we're starting to see some newly married, fresh out of college, first-time home buyers from Gen Z's, right? Well, if you take the lower end of the generation, like the younger Gen X, millennials, and Gen Z, they buy and they create loyalty a lot differently. I think we've been very conditioned to get on the phone with people. Like most loan officers do phone sales. Now we're starting to see a lot of loan officers do Zoom sales. You should do a Zoom with every single borrower, because ever since pandemic, that's like a normal thing right now. And with Zoom, you have the luxury of having slideshows and visuals. Like who wants to explain impounds over the phone? Like that's such a hard concept, right? But like, for example, if I'm a loan officer, if I'm on Zoom, I can just show them an impound chart. Like if I'm in California, I say, look, this is how impounds work. And this is the reserves. This is so much easier for somebody to understand if I have visuals, if it's Zoom. And so the other modernization is using tools that we have that everybody has access to, which is Zoom, to be able to show things like impounds and PMI and just show better visuals. And so loan officers, I think, have still historically done a very, very poor job of really impressing upon people that when it comes to, oh, let's talk about education. Like a lot of loan officers say, well, I'm really good at educating my borrowers. How? Over the phone? Like, where's your slideshow? Where's your videos? Do you have a YouTube channel? Do you have a Lender Launchpad library? Do you have an Instagram page that has a lot of educational material? You can't say that you're good at education if your education is limited to the 20 minutes that you talk to a borrower on the phone and you don't have a complete library of education. Because what we're trying to do is we're trying to attract people. We want a bar that says, I need to be educated. I need to be able to afford. I need to understand what rates are doing. And I need to understand how to win in my market. And so, but by providing a more visual experience, by providing an educational channel, by providing an educational place, a digital educational library, you're addressing that part. Because that's what consumers want today. They want all of those things. And so we're completely selling something that they don't understand.
Can I share a dirty little secret?
Yeah.
I know some loan officers that don't have the best rates and they're terrible at guidelines, and they're actually not even all that nice. And they do a lot because they got killer digital library of content and they got all kinds of presentation tools to the point where it completely pushes all their other inadequacies aside, because they've taken the time to build a better way to communicate. Like this is the whole point of this call. How do you communicate better in today's world? I had a borrower come into my office a couple of weeks ago, and like I lost track of what I used to do a decade ago, like plug things in, get them pre-approved on the fly, print up presentations and slide them across the desk like I was a car salesman. I couldn't do it because it's been so long since I've had to do things like that. But that's the exact question. How do you do that over this Zoom or over the phone with the text back and forth? And you know, you got to still somehow build that relationship and visual. There's people that are completely destroying the market that, you know, behind the scenes will call someone like me, well, how do I do this deal? I'm like, oh my gosh, you don't know how to do this deal? By the way, what's your rate? Oh my gosh, you're not good. So you're expensive and you don't know how to do, you know, you don't know how to structure a loan, but your production is way, way, way up here because you understand people in marketing and presentations. I'm not going to drop any names, but
by the way, there is a generation gap too. There is a generation gap, and we have to understand that, because on the far end we have boomers, and then on the other end we have younger millennials and Gen Z coming in. But understand that they function a lot differently. Like some people say things like, well, my borrowers aren't that sophisticated, which is true, because if some of your borrowers are of a boomer, older Gen X age, they may not be sophisticated, but it doesn't mean that they don't want sophistication, right? It doesn't mean that they don't want that. Plus, I mean, my mom's like in her late 70s and she's on like YouTube and TikTok all the time. So like, there's nothing stopping somebody from like sending somebody a link and like watching a video. They can watch it. They can watch a video. The second thing that I say is that if you say that your borrowers are unsophisticated, that means that you're not opening yourself up to the sophisticated borrowers. Maybe you can have 200% more business if you were sophisticated and you can attract those borrowers. So I can tell you right now, a 32-year-old, 29-year-old brand new realtor or loan officer in this industry, they just get licensed. The younger generation, generally, what's the first thing that they're going to do when they get into the business? Because they think a lot differently. They're going to start an Instagram page and they're going to start going on social. That is not what a 55-year-old older Gen X, 50-year-old Gen X loan officer thinks, or even a 45-year-old young Gen X is going to think. Because we think, oh, well, I want to reach out and sell because that's how our generation thinks, right?
I'm going to go post, my product on Facebook. Like, look at my down payment assistance product. Here's my product on Facebook.
Because the newer generation, here's a chart, okay? Because the newer generation, they're influenced a lot differently. So if you look at this chart, you have boomers, Gen X, millennials, and Gen Z. So this orange social media, this is how much social media influences the later generation. Okay. And this is influencer marketing. So influencer marketing is like a personality. This is how much boomers cared about a personality, but this is how much Gen Z cares about a personality. Millennials care about a personality. That's why when you look at not just borrowers, but you look at your competition. So if you're a 32, so look, millennials are now 26 to 40 years old. They make up a huge majority of our buyers. If you're a 32-year-old, 35-year-old home buyer, and your competition is in older Gen X age, and they want to sell you over the phone, and then they wonder, well, they're not sending me any documents. I don't know why. But then the new 30-year-old young millennial loan officer has an education library. They do everything visually through Zoom, and they talk about the affordability issue. They talk about they're an expert in the market, and they talk about competition issue when it comes to winning offers. Who are they going to choose? Right? Okay. And so that's a big thing. By the way, do you know the statistic? Do you know which demographic, boomers, Gen X, millennials, and Gen Z, do you know which demographic is the highest percentage of home buyers right now?
I believe it's millennials.
It was millennials. It was millennials.
Now Gen Z?
No, it's actually boomers have taken over.
Really?
And it's actually for startling reason. So you're like, wait a second, Khai. So now this sounds contradictory because you're talking about all the sophistication. And so we have to address all these millennials, but all of a sudden now you're telling me that boomers make up the highest home buyer. Here's why. The reason why boomers are turning out to be the people that are buying properties the most is that boomers have the most equity for move up buys. And so they're winning the most offers.
Winning the offers, right? Yeah, because they can pay.
They're winning all the offers. And so, right. So you got these like first time home buyer, 32-year-old people with like 3% down going against the boomer that just sold their property at 500,000 and they've got some equity that they can push. They probably sold it at 100,000 over. So they have the equity now to put in an offer at 100,000 over. But my point is that the reason why I say that is because that's your competition. So like, what happens if you have a millennial buyer and you know that you got boomer competition, you got to do some extra special stuff to try to win.
It's crazy that you said that, because I was literally just talking to my loan partner. I'm like, hey, I got to go hit up my database and I got to talk about, buying without selling and bridge loans and delayed, cash financing and using money from a 401k to pay cash or all this kind of stuff. Because it's the same thing we had to do all summer last year. Like the majority of our clients were, they had to have some kind of cash. They had to have something. I'm talking to these LOs all over the country, like, oh, we're using Ribbon. We're doing cash here. We're doing cash there. These people are getting cash from a relative. And I'm like, man, it's like, you basically have two kinds of loans. You have like, I'm buying a loan from a family member, so you get a loan, or I'm rich, or I have a rich relative and I get a loan. Otherwise, like, what are you going to do? It's tricky. It's just a tricky situation.
You should have an educational series on what to do when your competition is overbidding you, or what to do against a cash offer. You know what I mean? Like, and you may not always have the solution, but there are ways. And again, sometimes the ways is like, okay, maybe my actual strategic loan structure isn't the way, but the fact that I marketed to this listing agent, this listing agent has known me for 7 years, they're going to pick me. So that's a strategic business way to win an offer. But it's just recognizing the fact that like you have to recognize what the market is giving you. That's why my webinar series is Evolve or Die. It's because the old ways, just the shift in generation and the shift in technology, it's coming at us really, really hard now. Like it's no different than when people stop going to Blockbuster because they're doing Netflix now. Like that's the phase we are right now in the mortgage industry. We're going from the Blockbuster phase to the Netflix phase. We're going from the teller phase to like the ATM phase. It's becoming that dramatic, right? I don't even go into a bank to deposit my checks anymore. I just take a picture of my phone and like it goes in. But VA especially, and I think that's one of the things that's good about VMA is that like I look at all the people that go through VMA and they place like a high emphasis on education, because you can't expect to be a VA expert without branding yourself as the expert. So there's a lot of branding that you guys teach, but then also you can say that I educate VA because I have classes and I have workshops. I mean, every time I watch a VMA person, their class, they just taught 50 veterans, they taught 50 veterans, they taught 50 veterans. So they're going out there in the community and they're branding themselves as that, and they're actually doing the education. Branding is not because I told you so in 20 minutes. It's a lot of work.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. And sometimes in the beginning, they get really frustrated because they're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm putting all this energy into it. And I had like 1 or 2 people show up. We're like,
yeah, well, okay.
So the win there is that you did all the work. Now you know how to do the class.
Well, here's the modernization of that too. So I start telling people, now we're into an era that we don't do live classes anymore. Let's just get everybody on a Zoom, because I can get everybody. I need 7 days lead time maximum to get 10 people or more on a Zoom. So sometimes, I mean, I know this because I do webinars all the time. I get over 50% of my attendees registering the day before, but how long does it take to put together a big class? And I recommend that for even everybody in VMA. It's like, live classes are really, really great. And I understand, right? But it just takes so much time and effort to put it together, and the invites, and then people have to physically travel. And let's face, so I can put a Zoom presentation together really, really quickly. But the reason why it's also better is that if I do a presentation on Zoom, I can record that, and then I can cut it into snippets. And then now I can create an online digital library, which is just snippets of all the educational pieces that I did on Zoom. And then people can watch that. And then, so when I have a VA come in, whether they want to actually attend one of my live Zooms, or they can just go to my YouTube channel, which is clips of previous, and I'm still accomplishing the same thing by educating them, and same with video content. Like, people look at video content and they say, okay, so Khai, I get what you're saying. Like, I want to do a lot of video content, but it's hard to do video. Like, what do I talk about? What do I post? I see a lot of people doing Instagram. If you did Zoom meetings with every one of your borrowers, in every one of your Zoom meetings, you're educating your borrower on something. You're educating them on all these things. And if you record it, you have automatic content. You can just take your recorded content and post it up on IG. You can post it up on Facebook. You can post it up on different things. And I got that idea because if you look at like Gary Vaynerchuk, and you look at like a lot of these people, they're never, like, Gary Vaynerchuk is never sitting in front of a camera creating content. He's just going around the room, and he's just going around the world and just speaking, and he's just recording himself. And then he just takes those clips and he says, there's my content. And so we're just watching him speak and educating people. And so that's what I recommend too. It's like, you should just be like a live moving show where you do Zooms with your bars, you do Zooms with your realtors, you do Zooms with your classes, everything's recorded. And then you have automatic content. That's just your life.
Khai, I have LOs that you've been preaching this for a few months now.
Yeah.
And I've had LOs that are like, oh, I watch Khai and I'm doing this. And then they're not producing a ton, 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 units. They don't have a big, war chest. And they're like, oh, I got to hire a full-time video person or who are you writing? And they get way too deep down this technical road of how to get the videos done. I'm like, guys, don't make it so hard yet. Just take those clips, send them out to some kind of cheap site, like even Fiverr, and just tell Fiverr to cut them up whenever you start and stop. And it's not going to be perfect, but and I know you got a bunch of easy solutions like that too. There's a whole bunch of easy tech solutions.
It's actually not that hard. I think that, like, I think people have this impression, and and I'll be honest with you, it's generally an older generation that says that. The reality is that when I work with loan officers, you got everybody from young boomer all the way down to, millennials, some of them even Gen Z. It's not the young millennials that are saying that. Okay. Listen, I'm a Gen X. I just turned 50 last week. It's us. It's like the Gen X's and the boomers kind of complaining. That's not a complaint about the amount of work that has to be done. That's not a complaint about like, oh, the strategy is too hard. It's just a complaint. You're just publicly admitting to everybody that you haven't really been on the technology bandwagon. Because I can tell you right now, to take a video, there's 3 simple tools that you can use, and they're all free: Descript, CapCut, and Caption. They're all free. Descript will cut up your video, cut out all the dead spaces and cut it. CapCut will add any effects or music or anything like that. And Captions does the little captions on the bottom. I'm actually doing a workshop with my coaching group next Tuesday, a 1-hour workshop. Everybody's going to come with a video, and at the end, they're going to have their video all musicked and captioned out. It's not that hard, but it's just that people don't want to go through that process. But you know what though? But look, here's reality. If you want to If you want to compete in the Olympics, what are the requirements to compete in the Olympics today? If you want to make the NBA, what are the requirements? Trevor Moawad has one of my favorite books called It Takes What It Takes. And the reality of it is that it takes what it takes. It takes what it takes. And so if you're saying that I don't want to do those things, then I'm saying, well, then you're not doing what it takes to either survive or thrive in this industry. Like this isn't a choice, guys. This is not like extracurricular activity where it's like, when you know what? Yeah, well, I was told to do videos and I was told to do editing and stuff like that, but that's so hard. So I'm just going to choose not to do it. I'm saying, all right, well, you're just going to do the die part of Evolve or Die because you're just not going to do what it takes. I mean, this is the reality of the industry. It's like, you know what? I'm going to open up a video store and people are going to come, they're going to peruse through things. It's like, dude, people don't go to video stores anymore. You got to figure out how to put your online website on so people can stream your videos. You know what I mean? It's just, listen, I'm not here to tell you what to do or not to do. You could choose not to do it. But if you're still in that position because you wonder why you're not being marketed to, you're wondering why you're getting ghosted, you're wondering why your competition against like a more tech savvy, you don't have to be young, but you have to be more savvy and relevant. That's on you for not doing what it takes.
I kind of said it earlier. Like I have LOs on the other hand, complaining that they lost a deal to that tech savvy person. Like I said, they don't necessarily know the guidelines as well. They may not even have the best prices and rates, but they understood how to connect with the borrower better. And you know, they're not so bad that they're pissing off the borrowers and getting sued or anything. You know, the borrowers are still pretty happy. But then I see these LOs sitting there comparing themselves with lender terms. Like, well, he didn't have this one program, or he wasn't an eighth lower, or, you know, my service was, it doesn't matter. That guy got paid and you didn't.
Yep. I'm gonna show you something. Brian put it in the webinar chat. Well, I'm worried how I look. I'm gonna tell you something. With technology, it's like putting lipstick on a pig. It's like with filters and everything else. You don't need to look that good. You can do like a C-level video, but you can make it look really good. Like I'm gonna show you an example. This was actually a live clip from an Evolve or Die webinar. And if you look at the clip, I'm just talking Zoom. I'm not doing anything special, but look how I can make it look good with technology. Right? If it's gripping, nothing can compete with it. You know what's gripping? What's gripping is presentations that look like this. Pre-approvals that look like this. This is modern sales now. Not just modern marketing, but it's modern sales. Do you want to compete with my client? Okay, so I show you that clip because I was in a t-shirt and a hat and I'm just talking on Zoom. But the technology made me look really, really good. So I'm just saying, like, there's always a reason, right? So it's like, well, you can make yourself look polished, or you cannot make yourself look polished, or whatever it is, but there's a way out of everything. Or you could just say, screw it, I'm just going to make it like not look polished. I'll tell you this, 30% is better than 0%. So having a 30% video is better than having 0% video. You know, again, have something, but you can take bad video and make it good. You know, there are people that like, there are people that like do really, really good video, but their editing sucks. I mean, there's just whatever the combination is, you know, there's always a reason for something, but again, it takes what it takes, you know, and I think that's the reality. Like, I'm not here to dictate. I'm not here to dictate what you do. I'm just pointing out, where are you going to be 5 years from now? What's the new generation going to look like? I'm telling you, Blockbuster sat there and they laughed at Netflix, and maybe we're still in this transition, but I would be shocked if in the year 2030, you think loan officers are still going to be taking apps over the phone? You think in 2030, you're going to have a loan officer that doesn't have a video presence, a marketing presence, a social media presence? There's no way, because in 2030, guess who the majority of the generation is going to be? It's going to be millennials and Gen Z now. Boomers would have died off. Well, hopefully not die, but you know what I mean? Like, they're out of the industry, right? And then we're going to be like the old cranky people, Gen X. It's just happening. It's just happening too fast. And we have to recognize that. And then, I mean, I always think that our world is going to go into like this Armageddon kind of dystopian society. I mean, it's pretty crazy how like we're sitting there fighting for, I mean, starter homes across the nation by 2030, across the nation in 2030 are going to start at $1 million. Who's going to afford $1 million? And so, you know what I mean? It's going to be like these elite affording the homes, and everybody else is going to be poor. And then it's like, you have to have like 6 people to qualify with co-borrowers, and competition is going to be like 57 offers per property. I know I'm painting this like really, really grim picture, but you know, the world kind of changes like that, you know, and the nation changes like that. And so we got to do what we got to do.
That's a really, really grim way to finish up the call. You got a chance, Liz. You got a
It
chance.
is. Sorry. I think about that way sometimes because it actually lights the fire in me, you know. But here's another thing. It's like I think everybody's got to look at themselves in the mirror. Oh, so this is actually a really good chart. Where do you sit on this curve? Are you an innovator? Are you an early adopter? Are you kind of like the skeptic and conservative back here? I don't know very many successful skeptics and conservatives. That's all I can say. You want to be successful in the mortgage industry. You want to be successful in real estate. You want to be successful in what you do. The successful people are generally on the left side. They're not on the right side. Name a successful skeptic that you know. You know what I mean? Except maybe like Nostradamus. I don't know if he was successful, but he's popular. But like name somebody on the right side who's like very skeptical, doesn't want to change, doesn't want to do new things. That's successful. And so we have to embrace these things. And I know it's a hard thing to hear, but you know, it's time for us to do that. And like I said, I love what VMA is doing. This is what I try to really push. It's a modernization. It's a shift. You know, my friend Denise Sanhu, she calls it the shift. I call it evolve or die. Some people call it the modernization, but modernization again is not just technology. It's, are you even talking about the things that people care about today?
So let's just finish it with that, Khai. If somebody wants to do the next round of Evolve or Die, they want to dive deeper into this stuff, more granular. I mean, you had a whole slide deck. There were 60 slides. We looked at like 3 of them.
Yeah.
What do they do? How do they get involved to catch your next call series or you know, reach out to your program or whatever?
So my next call series, Evolve or Die, I put a link. It's Evolve or Die webinar. It's on April 19th. So it's in about 2 weeks.
Nice.
And it's a 2-day series. And so it's 2 1-hour sessions. I don't want to cram 2 hours down somebody's throat. And if you use the code MLONet, there's a discount. But I'm helping people transition. And you know, and here's what I will say. Again, it's like anything else, you know, it's you know, it's no different than, like, I use the analogy when I was 20 years old, I can just kind of wake up, have a Big Mac in the morning, you know, go to a frat party and chug a beer and I can work out and I can still be in shape. You know what I mean? But then what happens is life happens, you know, you get married, you have kids, and you wake up one day, you're like, oh crap, I haven't worked out in a long time. And you go to the gym and it's like really, really hard. Like everything's hard, right? Everything's hard when things evolve. And so what a lot of people do is you see this, a lot of older people, when they go back to gym, what do they do? They hire a trainer. But see, that's what we're here for, right? This series, VMA, what I do, we're here to make the hard not hard. And so I get it. Like if you just listen to you and I talk, yeah, you're going to hang up and go, that's pretty hard. That's a lot of work. I know, but that's why you have to be involved in the organizations. That's why you have to come to these series every single week. That's why you have to participate in MLO. That's why you have to go to Evolve or Die, because we want to make those things really, really easy for you.
I feel like even though I didn't tell you, you're kind of poking fun at me because I decided to go ice skating and like beat up on my punching bag 3 days in a row, and I couldn't walk for 2 days. I'm like, this is old. I don't like old. I'm done.
I hired a trainer for the first time in like 6 years, and I remember I looked at him and I said, you know, it's not so much like the strength that I don't have anymore. It's like, why does every joint hurt now?
Right.
It's really bad.
Right.
Like everything really hurts.
Okay. Two old men apparently ranting. Guys, we appreciate your time. Thank you so much for your contributions in MLO Network. Check out Khai's Evolve or Die. I watch it like 2 or 3 times already. There's so many good concepts. You know, whether you follow Khai or I beyond that, yes, we want you to, but I'm telling you, it is must-see TV. It's the thought processes that you just need to have moving forward as we go into, quite frankly, a different market. So we're here. I'm going to
put one more link. If you just want to have a discussion with me, because maybe you don't want to wait until April 19th, or you can't make April 19th, or you want it even sooner, go to that link.